I'm live here on Phoenix 92.5 FM, YouTube, Twitch, Periscope, Twitter, not Mixer, because Mixer's gone. And of course, every Tuesday on Phoenix 92.5 FM. This is the Wrestling Rewind, show 29, Dave. So we're really getting up there now. One thing I gave you for listening in this week, where we're going to be talking about The Undertaker once again, but it's going to be a special best of our favourite matches of The Undertaker, shall we say. Now, I posted this on my Facebook originally, and then it kind of got picked up, and now it's on, it was also on the comments last week, and now it's on Twitter. So I kind of wanted to start this week. I've neglected Twitter, and I feel sorry for anyone who was commenting going, hey, what the hell? I thought you were going to talk from me. So yeah, we are going to go through a few weeks of Twitter messages and endeavour to do better on that front. And yeah, so Dave, is there anything you want to start before we get into this?
It's a great day for wrestling, everyone. Welcome back to the show hosted by people who don't hate the product.
Now, we're probably going to change the days. So obviously this isn't a Monday, this is Tuesday. We're probably going to do it on a Tuesday or another day while the virus is receding in certain places and stuff's reopening, so life is happening again. So just kind of bear with us for the next week or two while we figure out what's going on. It will either probably be Tuesday, like today, or another day, but it won't be too different from that, you know. Yeah.
Wait, so you're saying the show's going to happen on a day of the week? That's fantastic.
It will. It just won't be Monday. It just won't be Monday. Much so much chimed in. Life is happening again. WWE can happen again too. WWE never stopped. That's half the problem.
Never.
They just kept going and pretended like it wasn't a thing, and now they have a massive outbreak of the virus. So that was the problem. You know, the world may end, but Vince is still going to put on shows, and that's one thing we've learned from this whole thing. Is that. So some news before we get into it. This is the segment where I read out news that Dave doesn't know about. And Dave reacts.
Oh man.
So
I have no idea what's in store this week.
Right, so first thing, Nia Jax looks like she's ruined everything. Nia Jax keeps injuring people. So yeah, she looks like she's going to be gone very soon.
Yes, finally.
She just will not stop injuring people. And there was some stuff leaked. This comes from Wrestling Lamia, where it's leaked that Vince is not happy with her, and it looks like this might be for Nia Jax. Which, to be fair, she won't stop injuring people, so come on, it makes sense.
And it's literally your job to keep your partner safe. Like
exactly.
That's what you're supposed to do as a wrestler.
Some sad news. Kairi Sane has been removed from WWE for the foreseeable future. We don't know why. This is probably some sort of work. But she was supposed to be doing a bunch of shows, and now she's not on it. And I love Pirate Girl, so she's not there, and that makes me sad. Shayna Baszler.
Sorry, it took me a second. I had to remember who she was. Yeah.
Yeah, she's the
I do like Pirate Girl. Yeah,
she's fantastic. Shayna Baszler is going to return to WWE TV, but not Raw. So it looks like she's going to be moving brands, and this is because apparently Vince has also just lost interest. This is one of his several things this year where he just lost interest. Ricochet was one, and Andrade was another one. So
don't.
I'm sorry.
Don't go there.
I'm sorry. I'm not.
Don't go there.
I have to bring it up.
You know what popped up on my memories the other day on things that I had posted?
Go on.
Was almost I guess a year and a week ago was that moment where AJ Styles and Ricochet had a confrontation in the ring. The Good Brothers were in AJ, and he stood on top of Ricochet and threw up the click sign. Oh, man. I remember how hyped I was, how excited I was. And now you're telling me he's being put on the back burner? I know he got a little buried last week.
The burial hasn't stopped. He's still, you know, he's still on point to just sit there and be stuck forever.
He's not going to be stuck forever. You can't hold someone like him back. You can't.
Well, you know, it is what it is.
Put him back. You know what? Do a Finn Balor. Send him back to NXT.
I think that's a great idea. And that's what
Honestly.
NXT should be. NXT should just be, they should be given the opportunity to be able to go back and work rather than just be kind of lost in the shuffle, you know?
I'm not going to let you break my heart like that. You can't do it.
Speaking of some wrestlers who were, like, of the Good Brothers, actually, and some people who were let go. It looks like we might be getting some people to Impact Wrestling. A bunch of WWE superstars were seen wearing Impact shirts, which is interesting. One being EC3, but he also might be going to AEW. So there's a few that's still changeable. Ringside News, Wrestling News, all this kind of stuff. They're all picking up on it, and it looks like what was it? There was Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, the Good Brothers. They're the ones who were spotted wearing Impact shirts. We thought they were going to go back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because they also, because, I follow the news that I actually care about. And sorry, Nijax. And I did see that they were posing for pictures with the Young Bucks this past week.
Yeah.
So I was thinking maybe AEW. I don't know.
It could be one or the other. We don't know, but that's what they're kind of leaning to now at the moment. It looks like it's going to be a debut after a couple of days, because this happened in April. So we're getting up to that 30 days or 90 days, rather.
Yeah.
There is some, like, we were kind of wrong. Slammiversary hasn't happened yet, because that's how much we keep up with Impact. So I don't think it's this week. I think it's the week after, and we'll talk about it because, it's their biggest show of the year, but they have nobody, so feel sorry for them. But that's when we could probably have some debuts. So we will be keeping an eye on that as we go forward.
Y'all make fun of me for not being up on the news. He doesn't even know when the pay-per-views are. I mean, I'm not claiming I do. I'm just saying he doesn't either. So I want to see you guys throw him some slack on Twitter this week instead of just me, is what I'm asking, basically.
It's not that I didn't know it. I thought it already happened because, Impact is just there. It's just a thing. And no matter what happens, it just still goes. Like, I'm convinced that we could all die and Impact would still be putting out shows. Like, it just happens. I don't even know who's funding them or why they took them. It's weird, man. Impact are just, I don't know. They should just go back to call TNA and die themselves.
For crying out loud. No, you only want them to go back so you don't have to change your mind every week about what to call them. I was going to actually compliment you for remembering its Impact.
Well, that's because I have it here in front of me. If I didn't have it in front of me, I would go back to calling it what it actually is. I did see a really funny piece of news today where it was like the Mortician is set to debut in Impact Wrestling. Because the Undertaker was kayfabe news. That was pretty good. But yeah, okay, so that's all the news that we have this week. Not a lot, which is great because the news seems to be very upsetting recently with wrestling. Yeah. But yeah, so look, I'm going to read some tweets that we had. Some tweets.
Tweet mail time.
So we probably will change the handle, but for the moment it's at WVI Desk. If you can come up with a better handle than that, let us know. We'll change it to it. But at the moment it's not. So what we got Not Real Kev at Not Real Kev pops in. He'll be back. The mania itch is too strong. Plus WWE embracing the cinematic approach to matches has reopened the possibility of a match with Sting.
No.
I told you.
No. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this to him? Don't make Darragh feel good. Don't allow him to get his hopes up because he's just going to end up crushed. It's not worth it, guys.
Gary has chimed in. Love Taker, that was the perfect ending. I really hope that's it. Leave him wanting more. So he kind of agrees with you on that one. And then DPM365, DPutty365 pops in. It was a very pro Vince, a pro WWE. This is in relation to the Last Ride documentary. It was a very pro Vince, pro WWE affair, with it being a WWE production. Hopefully, if he follows out with WWE and his autobiography will be no holds barred, he'll have some brilliant stories to tell. I've been thinking about this, and I think that we'll see him pop in UFC. His hand speed and height will give a massive advantage. Plus, he goes old school in the octagon and would decapitate someone. I don't think that last one is going to happen.
I mean, that sounds completely realistic to me. I see the Undertaker at Dana White's Fight Island immediately.
No, okay.
Immediately. There's no 90 days. He doesn't, because he doesn't follow the same contracts. He might even be there for UFC 251. We don't know. It's a possibility. You think you could survive a tombstone? Good luck.
Munsamut chimes in. The pallbearer will debut after the Mortician. They might do. Yeah, that could happen. And then good name for the segment at Nerd to Know Tweedia. I like that. That's a good one, actually.
Nerd to know Tweedius. That's funny.
That's a quote.
To the person who commented that the documentary was very pro Vince and Undertaker, there's a great link. Maybe we can put it up on our Facebook page of a video you all can find on YouTube called The Undertaker versus ECW and WCW.
Actually,
and it was actually
I've realized.
Okay. Oh,
sorry for
yeah, just cut me off. No, it's fine. No, don't worry. I'm barely even a co-host. Why not?
No. Oh no, Dave. This is actually to help you out, because I've noticed that we say, "Oh, we're going to leave a link," and then we just don't.
Well, yeah, that's fair.
So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pop in the chat, and I'm going to start popping anytime we say we're going to leave a link below. No, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to leave a link in the chat and then compile that at the end of the show. So that's what I'm going to do. Sorry, Dave. Yeah, Smart. It is Undertaker versus ECW, WCW, ECW. Continue. And
so my point was going to be that if you want to see the Undertaker in a more negative light, you can watch that. Now, granted, he treats it very kayfabe, and it's not, necessarily whatever. But I mean, my favorite part of the whole thing is the ending of it. Darragh knows what I'm talking about.
Enlighten me what the ending of it is.
Oh, well, they were trying to say that the Undertaker buries people, but then they were letting you know that their next episode is going to be about somebody who buries people even more. And we get a nice shot of the game.
Okay, well, look, all I'm going to say on that is that I'm a big fan of V and Vuzo. That's his
channel, yeah.
Yeah, that's his channel, and there's a link there now on the screen, but also it's in the chat all across the board. I know I'd say check out V and Vuzo stuff. It's actually great. I'd love to have him actually on the show at one point because I love his content. The nice little kind of 10-minute clips, like snippets of things. And I'd be lying if I said a lot of topics that we talk about in depth don't come directly from his inspiration. But yeah, look, as far as what you're talking there, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't see it.
I know. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you ever watched Parks and Recreation. Have you ever seen Parks and Recreation?
Oh, yeah. I've seen them all. Yep.
Yeah, when someone responds to that, it's kind of like John Ralphio's sister. That's my reaction to when anyone says anything about Triple H. It's like, I've never done anything wrong in my life. It's like, I know, I love you. It's okay. And that's kind of how I see it. So no, Triple H has never done anything wrong, and I will defend that to the death, sir. To the death.
I'm sure. And he if you do die, he'll bury you, so don't worry about it.
But that's okay. Look, I would say that some interesting stuff came out about John Cena recently, where he didn't want AJ Styles in the WWE. Did you hear that?
You're just getting back at me.
No, honestly,
no, don't you dare pit. No.
Against AJ coming to WWE, and I was shocked. I thought you saw this. See.
Well, just keep going. I need to hear more about this.
So yeah, there was a story. I think it was on WrestleMania as well. It came out recently. I'll try to find the link, and if I can, I'll post it. But basically, it was after a couple of how long is AJ in WWE? Like 3 years? 4 years?
Yeah, he debuted in debuted. That's a word, people.
Debuted.
I talk for a living. 2017, wasn't it? Well, so, 3 years.
That may never have happened if one John Cena was to get his way. And what I will say is there's some good books out there. There's one by I think it's Shad Gaspar. No, JTG, not Shad. JTG. About his book of all the stuff that John Cena did backstage. So I'm just saying. No. Yes, I understand he's done stuff. We can even get into NXT, but I want to know specifically about this AJ Styles thing, because my early memories of AJ Styles are the fact that Cena put him over. Well, he put him over when he was there, but into the company,
so he didn't want them. Wow. You know what that this might get too meta for people who are like, David, why do you remember promos very specifically? But one of my favorite promos that AJ cut was against Cena leading up to their matches. And he made a comment, and he literally did the shovel motion as he said, like, guys like you always want to bury guys like me. And the reaction on Cena's face felt a little more real than when people take the normal jabs.
Well, it makes sense. It makes sense. And the thing, I think every big star, and this is something that we forget because big stars who aren't John Cena or Batista or something like that, like Triple H, Undertaker, Austin, they all have these periods of wanting to be the top guy, because they are, right? But they want to keep their spot, and it's just that kind of ingrained thing in the industry. And I totally forgot that Undertaker had this, where he just buried, like literally, and we're not talking gimmick wise, we're talking like he'd just go in and beat people around the place. And the video that V did is very interesting, because you're like, oh wow, he really did just bury all this talent. DDP, Canyon, he tried it with the Dudley boys. The list goes on.
I'd love to hear some DDP. Oh yeah, rest in peace. I'd love to hear some DDP knowledge about everything that went down, because that was not something I had remembered. And back to Styles, that was one of the most iconic moments, was the Memorial Day speech that John Cena gave, and then I think it was Memorial Day. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. And then AJ came out and they shook hands and the place erupted. I mean, it was so surreal to see both of them in the same ring at the same time. Well, like I've watched that on loop.
Well, I think a lot of that comes from the fact that AJ was Mr. TNA, right? And Cena has that history with TNA where it was all very anti-Cena for a very long time. Even with K-Quick, when he was there, they had that altercation in the airport. So, you know, you don't. So really
you think the issue? So this is what I'm trying to get out. Like, is the issue that kind of like how Undertaker's mentality of is they're not WWE guys, I don't want them.
That's what.
So is John Cena like not TNA, or did he feel like they're bringing in a talent who could surpass me?
Well, it's weird, because if it had been 4 or 5 years ago, then yeah.
Was he worried about like losing revenue, merchandise money? Like, is that because Vince didn't see this happening?
Well, we've seen what happened with Punk, where he, the brakes are put on there. But by the time Cena came in, he already knew he was kind of on the way out. So I think maybe it was more got to do with that. Oh, he is like the definition of an outsider. But over a year or two later, half the roster became TNA guys. Right. In main. So I don't know. I don't think it was as malicious as it was made out to be, but it was something that was brought up and we're like, oh wow, I didn't think Cena was still doing this. But then again, things change. And
welcome to the part of the show where Darragh and I talk about things that we know nothing about.
Well, all we can do is
pure speculation.
All we can do is go on past behavior, documented history, and then also what kind of happened. So we know that Cena has done X, Y, and Z, but we know all talent have done X, Y, and Z. And that's why, coming into this specific show today about The Undertaker, it was all very, very positive. And then V&View's those video comes out, and I'm like, oh, wow, I totally blocked this. And I think we all kind of have those blinders up as well, right? Where it's like, oh, my favorite wrestler wouldn't do that. Yeah, he would. Why wouldn't they do it,
Well, all I know is that both Taker and Triple H essentially called AJ Styles the best wrestler of not just this generation, but perhaps of all time during the Taker documentary. So, hey.
But they're not wrong.
Things are things.
They're not wrong. They're really not wrong. But yeah, we probably will touch on it briefly, because one of the matches that we picked today is from that era, but it's different in a sense because it's not a burial. It's just a really, really good match, but we'll get to that. So the matches we're going to talk about today are Undertaker, from most recent to, I guess, less recent. Undertaker.
Good job hitting the mic there, by the way. Super professional.
I'm not used to not having a beard, so...
Is that what you're...
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of struggling with.
I just wanted to illustrate the visual for those of us who are listening to the podcast, not video.
I'm really struggling with, like, because I'm so used to it now. It's really annoying. So yeah, Undertaker versus AJ Styles, Boneyard match from WrestleMania just gone. Yep. End of an era match. Triple H versus The Undertaker. One night stand. Undertaker versus Edge, which we've talked about, but we'll kind of gloss over again. Undertaker versus RVD in a hardcore title match from 2001.
Yeah, that was actually mentioned in the burial video that the Infusion did. However, I was just watching a 90s bio of The Undertaker, and they did not give it that spin. So it's just interesting how you can take the same story and have it come out two different ways, depending on the narrative.
Undertaker returns Judgment Day 2000 at the Iron Man match, which is a really good match anyway. We'll talk about it because it's just a good excuse to talk about it. Then there's The Undertaker versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, a WWF title match from Raw 99. Mankind versus The Undertaker, Hell in a Cell. And then a write-in from Gary, which was Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. So, obviously, you know...
the first or the second? I forget which one we decided to talk about. We'll do both.
We'll talk about both, because they kind of are the same.
We're kind of listing them all now, just so that when we don't get past, like, the first three...
At least you know our list.
Yeah.
But and look, what I will say is, if you guys disagree with us and we're going to talk about, if you have your own kind of match you like, leave it in the comments.
Listen to another show. No, I'm kidding.
Leave it in the comments below so we can kind of, have this good kind of compendium list of matches that we kind of point to and go, hey, look, these are some really good Undertaker matches. Because there's like this weird point where his matches aren't great, but they're fun. And then there's some that are genuinely great, and then there's a bunch of trash matches, which is kind of in that V and Fuso period. That's what we're going to call it now, that V and Fuso burial period. Where, like, he really did just have garbage matches for like 2 or 3 years. So yeah, let's kind of start from 1998. So what Corey McChrystal referred to as the greatest lie that was ever told. Yes, AJ Styles. He's not here yet. We're gonna get.
I don't know. I know. Yeah, if you're listening, I didn't hold up. Yeah, Mixer's not around right now, AJ. If you want your voice heard, just throwing it out there.
Exactly. Go to Twitch.
Yeah.
But yeah. So listen. So the greatest lie that was ever told: the Hell in a Cell match from 1998. Right.
The greatest lie that was never told. Okay.
That was ever told, because it's not really a match. It's like 4 spots and then 10 minutes of lying around. And you don't ever think about that, because you're like, oh, wow, there's such great spots. And then you watch the match and you're like, nothing happens. Like, he gets thrown off it, and then there's nothing for 10 minutes. And then there's a bit of a match at the end. So it's a bit of a mess, but the overall like mystique around this match has really kind of overtaken its reality. It's one of those things that you expect it to be way... Like, it's super important, right? Because it changed the whole nature of what you expect a Hell in a Cell match to be. But before this, the one before it was pretty bad with Shawn Michaels. I think it was at Bad Blood 97. And, so what do you think about the Hell in a Cell match?
It's tough for me. I love deathmatch wrestling, so it was cool to see Mick Foley really go to those roots of his and to take those bumps. But you're absolutely right. I mean, he gets thrown off the top of the cage. I mean, this isn't even kayfabe. Like, the guy literally almost dies. There was no crash pad under that announce table that he fell on.
Well, see, that was planned.
It was planned.
That spot actually was planned.
It was planned, but still.
But then going through this, and so once he goes through, it's like, there's no crash pads or whatever, and then you're left to 10 minutes of kind of nothing. And then after that, the second spot, which was he was supposed to bounce right back up from the chokeslam, and he doesn't. He just goes through it. That wasn't planned. So it's but there's less lying around after that spot than the first one for some reason.
Well, the most dubious thing about that second spot, we're talking about the absurdity of Mick Foley being able to climb back up the cage. But one of the things that made it so tense, even watching it, was the fact that each step that the performers took, you could see the steel like slinking down. It was not like today where they're using like
reinforced.
Because of this match, like they're using stuff that's more reinforced. This was, I don't know, maybe this used some chain link fence or something.
That's what it was. It was just chain link fence. Yeah.
And people always focus on the fact that he went through it, which I do think, if I remember Foley's book, was planned for him to go through.
No,
wasn't.
He was supposed to bounce back up. It wasn't supposed to go through at all.
Oh, he was?
It was a chokeslam on the top that he was supposed to bounce back up, and they were supposed to finish the match up on top.
Okay. Well, what I remember, especially from reading his book, is the fact that it wasn't the spot that hurt him of falling through. It's the fact that there was a rogue steel chair that fell through with him, and after he hit the mat, landed in his face, sent truth up through his nose, which that's an image.
Yeah.
That's an image.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the real famous one as well, where he kind of turns back and you see the tube of his nose, and you're like, "Oh my god!" Like that's what it. Like, it has these crazy moments where if it had been, well, look, you can't really say, "Oh, if you had worked a better match," it's like the man nearly killed himself, you know. So it's like, what do you want from him, you know?
But I don't think it's fair to say that it was like a lot of nothing, because it was super tense as soon as you realized, oh, something might really go wrong because this structure has not been built correctly. That's what made it so tense and added to the mystique. Because we'd never seen anything like this before.
Yeah, ever.
Anything
ever. Like it was just on the cusp of when we were getting into this new WWE. Like, yeah, there were ladder matches, there were cage matches, but it wasn't this.
Right.
And that's kind of big. You know, it's big to really get into. Also, it ends with the choke slam onto the thumbtacks, which, again, was like, how much are you putting yourself through? You know, it's like...
I love how that's an overlooked spot.
Yeah, just the thumbtacks, which is weird. But what's crazy about this match is, like, I don't remember on the run-up to it, Mankind being a hardcore wrestler, right? As far as this hardcore, this was like a Cactus Jack kind of match, and it doesn't really fit. When I go back and kind of watch it, I'm like, okay, one, the setup is kind of weird because it kind of comes out of nowhere. Like Undertaker and Mankind feuded for years, obviously, but this escalation point was not really warranted.
Yeah,
and that's the big thing when I'm watching this match. I'm like, okay. It's not really a match. It's a story that kind of happens for no real reason.
And he did get reprimanded. Foley actually got reprimanded by Vince. Well, I don't even know if reprimand's the right word. He said, "Thank you, but if you ever do anything like that again, I'm going to kill you."
Yeah.
Like, I cannot have that. Like, you know.
And it's like, and that's why you never really see people going off the top of the Hell in a Cell anymore.
No, I remember when the Shield did it, and you could see, and they did it actually off the side. It wasn't completely off the top.
Yeah.
And they even had clear footholds. That's another thing. Like, nowadays, there's actual footholds
so you can
climb up.
Yeah.
Then how does the Undertaker even climb that thing? Or things I'm going through my head, like, you know.
Well, that's actually what JR says. He's like, how's Taker climb? Well, one, Taker's a big guy, and he's like, he's saying how's he able to climb? But then I think King is like, Foley's shoulders dislocated and he's still able to climb it, and you're like, that's impressive.
That's wild.
People say he wasn't in good shape. It's like, well, because they had to climb that with a broken shoulder. That's dislocated shoulder. That's pretty impressive. But
yeah, and I think maybe he needed that extra padding to take those bumps, quite frankly.
I don't know. I know Shane McMahon, some people are like, oh, Shane McMahon jumped off it. I'm like, yeah, but that was a lot more padding there. And
very protected.
It was very protected. Still not fun.
No,
it wouldn't be fun at all. But,
not fun at all. But I will say the downside is what you just mentioned. Like, we always now expect somebody to come off the top. Mm-hmm. And they've done it a couple times. WCW went a little way too far with it. I can't remember what that, like, in one of their triple cages, somebody came off the top, and that was scary.
I don't like the triple cage matches. I think they're silly.
No, they're very silly. But we love the corporate tower escapade, or whatever it was called. Cinematic. Money in the Bank. yeah. But who was it? Who was it that Undertaker threw off the cage and then he landed in the truck bed that had Rikishi? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is like there's this precedent that's been set. Like, didn't Shane jump off to Taker and do like an elbow? I'm wondering if the hell is shorter now than it was in '98.
I think no. It's just the actual landing is more protected. Like, the actual area is set up for someone to land, rather than just one of the old school announce tables, which may or may not break depending on who hits it. You know.
Just thank God this wasn't Japan.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. The tables never break. Yeah. So look, the interesting thing about this is it wouldn't end, because the cage would come down later on the night with the Stone Cold Steve Austin Kane match. Kane's first title win was a first blood match. And Cage comes down, Mick Foley runs out, takes a completely unprotected chair shot, which is, you're like, oh my God, please, what are you doing?
I mean, that almost means nothing in context.
It's just when you see it, you're like, how are you not in the hospital? Why are you still hanging around in the back?
We probably won't get another chance to mention this, so I just want to point out that one of the most brutal chair shots had ever is the one that Undertaker gives to Vince McMahon in, I think it was around like 97-ish. I'm not sure. Like I'd have to rethink it.
Was it with the blue chair?
I just know it was during the corporate / ministry days.
Then it was
somewhere in there.
It was like
no, that would have been 99.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was vicious. It was absolutely vicious.
Pretty good chair shot from Austin, but basically Undertaker cost Austin the belt. Giving it to Kane. Like he misses Kane and then busted Austin open, and that's what happens, right? But what I find interesting, and here's one thing I actually wanted to mention, because again, something we probably won't get a chance to talk about, at least in the near future. Austin's in a first blood match, right?
Right.
His head is kind of cut open already from shenanigans on Heat. Why does he come out in trunks?
I mean, if I'm in a first blood match, I'm just going to pull the mummy from ECW's first episode, or the zombie.
He's against Kane, who's at this point the only...
Completely covered, yeah.
Well, except for his arm. And I'm like...
Right.
This is ridiculous. Did you not? And King actually's like, lampshades it, and he's like, well, you're going to have a hard time making Kane bleed there, So it was... They wrote themselves in a corner, and I think that was probably the best way around it. But, yeah, not a good match, but... It kind of, again, either is the Hell in a Cell from this time period as well, because it's part of a story that isn't really about Mankind and Undertaker. It's kind of about everything else, and that's just part of it. So this is what we're talking about, multi-tiered story where every match kind of made sense and fed into an overarching story, which is the big change that we start seeing the more and more we move away from the Attitude Era, and you'll see that. So the next one is, again, a throwaway match on Raw. But this is, we never got the definitive Undertaker-Austin match. We never really got that one.
Surprising, right?
Yeah, I know. Well, I remember I was talking to Austin about it, and he said, I actually am going to clip that interview and put it on the channel. And he's, he always wanted a match at WrestleMania with The Undertaker, but it just never happened. And when you think back, you're like, they never even had a definitive match where you can point to and go, this is... So it was loads of these kind of matches, and that's why I picked this one out, because I'm like, this is just what their matches were kind of like. Now, they had a few, Fully Loaded 1999, again, a first blood match, where would kind of set up the rest of that year with Austin winning and stuff. But, yeah, there's no match I can point to, really. So, Undertaker versus Austin, while it is one of the biggest feuds in WWE history, it's a lot of these matches, so kind of is what it is, sadly.
Yeah.
The next one is The Undertaker returning. So it's not really an Undertaker match as such. It's his return. So he was gone for most of 2000. He got injured during the I can't remember the name of the Big Show tag team.
I have no idea. Is this the Orbital Bone?
Yeah, no. This was. I think it's the Holy Alliance.
Or is this
I think that's what. They
no, not the name of the. What tag team has ever been named the Orbital Bone? Darragh?
No. But it wasn't that injury. It wasn't. I think it was.
Okay, it wasn't that one.
I think it was a pectoral injury that took him out, and it was literally.
Darn! I thought this was my chance to say to mention one of my favorite Undertaker get-ups of all time.
Was the mask,
which is when he comes. Yeah, the mask.
But that was way earlier on. That was like 1995, 96. It
was very early. Yeah.
So this was like 1999. I think it was like literally just as he shacks up with the Big Show.
Shacks up.
And they win the belt and everything, and he's just gone. You're like, all right, he's gone now. So that's what happened. And I remember watching it as a kid, going, "Where's the Undertaker gone?" No one ever brought it up again. He just wasn't there. And then all of a sudden we start getting these vignettes of the little girls, which doing the kind of creepy things,
So creepy.
So effective though. And I remember watching Judgment Day 2000, and it was all built around it because they were involved with it too. Again, this was like a really, really cool time, really exciting because time to be a wrestling fan, because a lot of these shows all kind of fed into each other. And actually, Next week we're going to talk about Judgment Day 2000 because it's great. It's a great show.
Fantastic. Can't wait to watch it.
That's going to be fun.
And be reminded.
And yeah, so the main event was...
Other than this match.
Yeah, the main event for this was the first time I actually saw an Iron Man match that I cared about. So I didn't care about Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart.
I don't even know how to respond to that, so I'm just going to let you keep going.
Fair. So I just didn't care. I was like, whatever, it was boring. And I thought the WrestleMania match was boring, but, you know, it is what it is. But this one had Triple H.
Oh, God.
So I was like, yes, Triple H is defending the game, right? And he's going against The Rock. So I was like, I was in, you know, I was like, this is brilliant. And then he had the Shawn Michaels stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay, whatever, Shawn Michaels is there. And then all of a sudden, Undertaker comes out at the end of it and has one of the coolest returns ever. Completely unexpected, because remember, this is like, no one was expecting Undertaker to come out with a bicycle to Kid Rock. Which is weird. And it's still weird when you think about it, but
it worked.
It did work. And here's the thing though, right? We now learned that not only was The Undertaker returning at this point, but he was actually being courted by WCW at this point.
It is where he got his start. It's worth mentioning.
Well, the gimmick that they offered him was this. He was supposed to be Biker Undertaker. Just not called The Undertaker, just Mark Calloway, probably. And this is what...
Go back, what was he called originally in WCW? Like Mean Mark Calloway? Yeah.
So that's what he was kind of brought back with. And he must have negotiated with WWE to be like, hey, look, I kind of want to do this. Can I do this?
Interesting.
So that kind of adds another wrinkle to this thing today, you know?
Something I've always, since we're talking about returns, something I've always loved about The Undertaker is the fact that he'll disappear for a while and then come back to a grandiose return. And without getting too in depth on it, who do you think has the best leaving and comeback returns and debuts, The Undertaker or Chris Jericho?
Jericho.
There's just something about it, right?
Yeah, no, Jericho's because it never feels the same. It always feels complete. Like Jericho 1999 does not feel like Jericho 2008. Does not feel like Jericho now. Does not feel like Jericho WCW. They're all. It's like he's a different person.
He completely changes every time. I think my favorite one. Well, I don't know. 2008 will always resound. I think it was 2007. It was like November 2007. But I think my favorite actually was the one where he came back and he just did not speak for like 3 or 4 weeks. He just soaked up adulation from the crowd and like ran around in circles.
That was good. That was really good. The completely egomaniacal sycophant, which was great. And to be fair, like the great thing about Jericho, and not go off on a Jericho tangent, we probably will do one of these at some point with Jericho, even though his band has still blocked me on Twitter for some reason. I was a Fozzy fan, still am. I don't get it. Anyway,
you must have done something, man.
I gave them a bad review.
Oh.
But it was a fair review. It's just that album was not good.
This is definitely the way to redeem yourself. Right. Double down that the album sucked.
It did. The best thing about it was I had an ABBA cover, and I'm like, I think I said in the review, if the best thing on your album is an ABBA cover, you're doing something wrong. Because you can't do a bad ABBA cover. It's not possible. ABBA's great.
I was going to say, this has so happened to me with a co-host before, where they've written down on a wrestler, and I got blocked as a result, aka I can't see Hulk Hogan's tweets. So I love Fozzy. Do not associate me with this Irishman over here.
Hold on a minute.
Thank you.
Being blocked by Hulk Hogan is an honor. That's how you know you're on the right side of history. I'm blocked by Hulk Hogan.
Side of history.
I'm blocked by Hulk Hogan, and I'm proud of that. But being blocked by Fozzy is completely ridiculous. I'm sorry, I would defend Fozzy to the ground, but
now are you blocked by both Jericho and Fozzy, or just
I'm not
Fozzy
blocked by
itself?
Jericho, just Fozzy, because I've
Okay.
I've never said anything bad. But I'm like, come on, man, you're one of my favorite wrestlers. Like, I don't hate your band, but just that was a bad album. Look, we all make bad music from time to time. You gotta embrace it, you know. But the new album's good, so They learn from it, right?
And they have face masks that you can buy now, so you can stay protected in these COVID times. I'm not sure why I'm shilling for Fozzy of all people, but
and we're demonetized.
Well, I said I just.
I know
it's good. Go buy their product. Why not?
Once the mode popped in.
I said the C word.
Yeah. You said the health. What WrestleMania? What do they call it? Global health emergency. I'm like, what are you doing?
No.
But yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, you can't say the name of the virus on YouTube, or they will ban harming us. So it is what it is.
You know what I'm talking about, Phoenix FM.
Yeah, exactly. You guys know. But yeah, look, we'll do one of these for Chris Jericho. I love Chris Jericho's matches; they're great. He actually didn't have like a great showing with the Undertaker, like ever, as well, which is weird. Like they never really crossed paths to the point where it's like they didn't have this definitive match. So if I'm wrong, let me know. Don't think I am. I can't remember a definitive Jericho Undertaker match.
I can't either. He would have been a cool WrestleMania opponent.
Yeah, it's just. They never seemed to kind of cross paths. It was, I think, like a lot of their matches would be similar to Austin, where they wrestled against each other a bunch, but never really in any kind of defining moments, which is weird. But so moving on from there, we have Undertaker versus RVD again. Taker is hardcore into his biker gimmick. This is the first time I can remember Undertaker going for the hardcore belt, or any like major star going for the hardcore belt, except for that weird match on Raw, which had The Rock, The Rock, Big Show, and Angle, I think, going for the hardcore belt, which was strange. Yeah. So this was like Vengeance 2001, December, or RVD has a hell of a showing, and Undertaker walks away with it. Now, to be fair, up until I watched V's video, I just was like, well, this makes sense. It's the Undertaker. He's the Undertaker. And I don't think RVD was buried at all in this. I think this was really fair. So I will have to disagree with V's opinion on that. What do you think?
I think I would too. And actually, I got to say, you could tell that they, or at least the Undertaker, really spent time respecting and understanding RVD's movesets, because there are some great counters during this match. So as far as the match itself goes, I think it was actually pretty solid. It's not like RVD didn't get any offense. It's that Taker kind of was the vet, so he knew how to outsmart him and such. So I thought that all went pretty well. And since you haven't gotten to it and it's not on our list, I got to say that I'm actually somebody who's a huge fan of the Undertaker versus Yokozuna casket match. I don't know what your thoughts on that were, but I really enjoyed it.
I hate casket matches in general.
Well, isn't something interesting though?
Why do you sell me on it?
Okay, I'm not even going to sell you specifically on that. I'm going to sell you on the fact that there's a wrestler like Taker who has a gimmick that we have so many matches that have come just from his gimmick. Is there another wrestler in a major promotion who more gimmick matches have been created for? Because I mean, we've got Buried Alive, we've got the Rest in Peace match, we've got the Boneyard match, we've got I'm gonna sound really silly it's casket match, the Inferno matches with Kane. So I don't
think there is anyone else. And even adopted matches as well, they became his Hell in a Cell.
Hell in a Cell was essentially a Taker match.
Yeah, up until it wasn't.
I mean, it's Taker / Triple H is essentially Hell in a Cell.
Yeah. Munson popped in there saying, I like the aesthetic of a casket match, but the execution doesn't work that well. That's the thing, it doesn't. And if you really want, if you want to see
an ambulance match, though,
ambulance matches they're okay. But
it's the same concept. The only difference is you don't have the absurdity of dragging your opponent up a ramp to put them in an ambulance. You just slide them into a casket. And Yokozuna popping the lid up and hitting Taker, and so Taker doesn't win the belt. And
there's one thing that kind of, to see where these matches go wrong, like in its most evolved form.
Okay.
The Last Rites match from TNA.
What are you doing? What are you doing? How are you possibly comparing Undertaker casket matches to anything that happened? You just did.
I'm just saying that's when that's it in its worst form. laid bare, where it's that match. And if you haven't seen that match, go watch the match. It's the worst thing you'll ever see in your life.
Instant fury. You just got instant fury from me just for that. But okay, if I could sell you on anyway, I would say that moment where he was Diesel at the time. That moment where Diesel opens the casket that gets wheeled down and expects to see Taker returning in it, and instead it's his own self in there. That gave me chills as a kid.
Well, there's one here. What about a double match? Put him in the casket and then throw that in the ambulance. That's effectively what
into the hearse. Throw it into a hearse.
Well, that's effectively that was done, wasn't it?
I think it was actually.
Yeah, I think that was done, and that's actually how AJ Styles comes to the Boneyard match.
Yes,
which is fun.
I just love the idea that there's a room in Titan Towers that's just full of caskets that the Undertaker sleeps. Like it's True Blood or something. Like what's happening here? You're welcome, HBO.
That's where he shows up. He's just like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna hang out in my room. I'm like, all right, yeah. No,
I guess now, since I just mentioned the Triple H and Undertaker, they both kind of own Hell in a Cell. Maybe now is the time to talk about End of an Era.
Yeah, which happened twice. And actually happened.
So did Rock Hogan. Rock
happened 3 times. Everybody forgets about WrestleMania 17.
Yeah.
But yeah, like End of an Era, the Hell in a Cell was kind of like the best one of the series.
Absolutely. Shawn Michaels' involvement. I got emotional during it. Like that's one of those matches that I got emotional. You could feel Shawn's pain. And I know it's just great acting, but still, like that got me. Maybe it's because I was little. I don't know.
Well, after that point, Shawn Michaels had been beaten by Taker.
Right.
So you had that history. You had the history of the match itself, and then you had obviously what this meant. And again, this was at the point where Undertaker had somehow gone from being a brawler to being someone who puts together these epic matches that are great.
Yeah, that triangle choke that he was implementing at that time was fantastic.
Like these matches that were actually like better than anything he did in his prime, anything he did when he kind of came back. And it was this weird period where like The Undertaker had this resurgence that was just nobody saw coming. And his WrestleMania series to this point was just unbelievable. So yeah, like I'd say if you haven't seen the End of an Era match, watch both of them. And he kind of tell a similar story. You really see some great acting from Shawn Michaels, as you said. One of the best Hell in a Cell matches of all time.
It is. And didn't have to involve going up top and throwing anybody off. It was just
and it wasn't
bloody.
It wasn't a match in a cell either. It was they used
story in a cell.
Yeah, they told the cage to use the cage to tell the story, and that's what's supposed to be used rather than just something that blocks your viewpoint,
And spoiler alert for something that happened like 15 years ago. But there's nothing quite like seeing referee Shawn Michaels going from that trying to be impartial to, no, this is my friend Triple H. And you see that super kick into the pedigree. And then Taker kicks out at the last second. That was, I think, the first time during we're acknowledging that there's a streak thing going on that I thought, the streak's about to end. Because it's Triple H. We know the pool he has.
For me,
I felt it.
For me, the first time was Edge. That was the first time when, I thought Edge was going to end it.
Really?
Yeah. There's a few, actually. The streak itself is something we can probably come back to and talk about in detail. But, I think for everyone had to have a different moment going, oh my God, it's going to happen, and then it doesn't, But yeah, we talked about the Edge Undertaker One Night Stand match. If you haven't seen that, it's one of the best little sleeper matches that they've had. It's really good. From One Night Stand 2008. And well, we have to, obviously this was a write-in, not on our list, but Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker, their series, similar kind of thing. Retirement to Shawn Michaels, well, we thought it was anyway until Sweet Saudi Money showed up.
I personally have some cognitive dissonance. I don't remember what you're talking about.
Fair enough. But what did you think about that series? Was it better than Triple H stuff, or do you rank them kind of the same level?
I would put them as matches. I think they were better. Right. Story-wise, I thought the Hell in a Cell End of an Era match had me more compelled. Like, I didn't ever believe that Shawn Michaels was going to defeat The Undertaker. So I did think that was a possibility of Triple H, because I was so hardcore into news and following the politics backstage that it would get leaked. We knew how much pull Triple H had. I thought they could really do this. They could really ruin this streak right here. But with Shawn, it was always, we're going to see a classic. We're going to see a guy both these guys work themselves off to put on the best match they possibly can. So it didn't have the suspense that I got from End of an Era. But, oh, man, in terms of just spot by spot, and this is back when Taker was still doing those dives out of the ring.
Nearly actually ended very badly because he wasn't caught during one of these dives.
Well, the worst one was during the Edge one.
Yeah.
If that streak was going to end, it's because maybe that was Edge's way of doing it. He was just going to have Taker break his neck.
Just kill the Undertaker.
Well, I guess I broke the streak. I broke something.
Another comment there from Munster, but those caskets are the ultimate piece of merch for fans to be buried in. I don't know. Well, like Darragh Kiss coffins, I think WWE missed out. They did release like the ugliest belt ever, except for Jeff Hardy's TNA belt a couple of weeks ago. Months ago now at this point. Did you see it?
You do, like, why?
Why? What?
New goal. We get through a show without Darragh mentioning TNA.
I can't do it. No, Bryn's like, there's two things you don't bring up to me: TNA and Star Wars, or else it just goes off the bat, and that's what happens. But yeah, like, it's just because it's a good reference point. Like, the ugliest belt I've ever seen is Jeff Hardy's belt when he was on all the drugs. And,
I kind of liked it.
Why?
I kind of liked all the drugs, Jeff Hardy. I mean, it's one of Sting's best matches.
Well, until that match with The Undertaker in a couple of years.
I mean, that's exactly how I see the Taker match going, quite frankly.
Well, look, the way I see that match going, all joking aside, and I'll go back to the what we opened the show with.
Why did I open the door?
Yeah, I'll go back to it because I'm not the only one that is saying this. Not real Kev at not real Kev. He says that WWE embracing cinematic matches is the way to do this, and I think you show up to the Undertaker with a dump truck full of money, and then you go here's all the money you want. Go in there now and have this match. And they don't even have to be there. They could, they just have to, do the spooky things, and then that's it.
Yeah. So do you think that, because I know we're getting near the end here, do you think that it's the wrestling of The Undertaker and just the character that he has while wrestling that people attach themselves so much to? Or do you really think it's the pre-match mystique, the after-match mystique, the vignettes and all that? Is that what makes him a powerful character? And quite frankly, that's what got him through times when he wasn't. I mean, he was always very talented, but he wasn't really that great of a wrestler at times. He was throwing it in.
And the thing I love about this list is, and what I try to actually
Please don't kill me if you're listening.
No, listen. What I've tried. Look, this list proves it. I didn't even go that far back. I didn't go back to when he was kind of green, because that's not fun.
No.
But even, his heyday, right? His real heyday, 1998, 1999, he was not good. Like, he wasn't what you'd say a technician, right? And wrestling at that point, but he didn't need to be, because wrestling in the Attitude Era wasn't technical. It was kind of garbage, but it was fun, right? But that wasn't bad, because that wasn't the whole point of that period. It was more, let's tell the story, let's kind of progress this angle, and then, there's a ring, you have to go out and, fall down a bit. But
welcome to the era of wrestling known as Vince Russo.
Exactly, right? So it got him through.
Which I love.
Well, so do I. I think it's great, right? But has problems, massive problems, which we document on this show a lot, but still worked, right? So The Undertaker didn't have to be that guy, right? None of them were. Look at Rock. Rock is terrible. Still didn't matter. Austin was great, but even when he was hurt, he could still work enough to do the same thing, until he couldn't. When we saw The Undertaker come back, there was we still hadn't got that infusion of talent from elsewhere. And then once we got that infusion of talent, like the Radicals, for example, that's when you really start seeing that shift, right? Where it's like, oh, right, you have your brawlers, but you also have incredibly talented mat wrestlers. Kurt Angle showed up around the tail end of 1999. So you start seeing it change, right?
One of Taker's favorite wrestlers of all time actually is Kurt Angle, because he had so much respect for him because of the Olympic stuff.
Exactly, and that was it. But what I find interesting is that he never lost that reputation of being a brawler, but his in-ring talent and pool grows so vast in the mid 2000s, where it's like you're watching a different wrestler, moves differently, still does the big spots, but doesn't move as lumbering. I don't know if that was, to answer your question, I don't know if he was, because he was never a bad wrestler, right? That's one thing that I want to mention. Never a bad wrestler, but I don't know if the wrestling style of his early career, where he was, the face paint and the more mortician, right, gimmick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was early 90s. We're talking. This was the cartoon era.
But that's it. I think he was just wrestling. He was gimmick wrestling, as in like, how would an undead person wrestle? Right. That's a terrible. You know what I mean? Yeah. So he was kind of limited to being that big lumbering Michael Myers kind of guy, right?
Right.
And that's kind of how I always rationalize that, right? 1998, 1997, 1999. You see him moving away from that, but you're still in this garbage period of wrestling where you can't have your 25-minute matches because nobody wants to watch that. They just don't at the time. You have to kind of move through the story.
I mean, we did get Undertaker versus Undertaker, the wrestler who actually got to fight his own demons.
Well, there you go.
Fun fact about that match, Brett and Owen went over by 20 minutes, which is why Taker versus Taker was so short. Now, in retrospect, I'm kind of glad it did.
But see, that's what I mean. That was, you didn't have people like Brett and Owen.
Yeah. Really.
Except for Brett and Owen. It wasn't like late 2000s where you had this, whole pit of Brett and Owens there, So I have to hand it to the Undertaker. He managed to adapt with the times and become a much better all-around wrestler. So he still had the spooky atmosphere and the entrances and all that kind of stuff. But then when the bell rung, holy cow, he'd just go in and have a great match.
Oh, he could go.
He could go. And it was just like, wow, this was unbelievable. So it's one of those things that nobody expected. And when it happened, I think that's why the streak became so good, because it was at that time period where Undertaker was 100% ready for it. Like from 2005 on, that's when you start getting the really good Undertaker matches. Up until that point, a lot of the streak is garbage. Like Big Boss Man versus The Undertaker, Nathan Jones versus The Undertaker.
Oh, I forgot about that one. Yeah.
Come on, like there are not. And we will. If you guys want us to talk about the streak, we will go in and we'll do a show on the streak. But it's just the latter part of it is what makes it good, not the initial. That's true. The initial part. So yeah,
because it had a gimmick.
It did have a gimmick.
It wasn't just a match. It was, will this be the end of the streak? So there was so much more pressure on. Oh, they were so good.
The matches were good.
They were good.
You had like really good up and coming guys, or even established stars like Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and Edge and all that kind of stuff, going for CM Punk. They were all there to really put on this great wrestling match with all the spooky stuff, the big entrances. It's like, it's the pinnacle of The Undertaker. It's the best way to use The Undertaker.
Yep.
Up until the last thing we'll talk about. We only have like 2 minutes, but we've talked about this already at great length.
Is it the fact that The Undertaker was at first nervous of debuting in the WWE WWF because he thought that he was going to be the one coming out of the egg as the gobbledygooker? Yeah. Fun fact, I bet y'all didn't know that.
Yeah.
He was legitimately worried. Vince had to call him and say, no, that's not you. That's not you. Don't worry.
Imagine. Well, that would have been it. But look, Undertaker, AJ Styles, what is the last Undertaker match? Apparently, not really. It's really not. But it is probably the future.
He's retired 100%.
No, he's not.
It's over. It's done.
I'm going to clip this so we can play it in like a year.
No, there's nothing. Oh yeah, play it in 10 years when it hasn't happened.
But yeah, look, it is kind of like the defining Undertaker match of what we have now, where it has the spots. It's not a match. It's more of an experience, and that's what people want. And I think that's what we might see again. But if you haven't seen any of the matches, I'm going to put them underneath this show, I can't link to them, obviously, but they're easy enough to find, and I'll put them underneath the show. Add to them. Let us know what you think. If you disagree or agree, or tell Dave why Sting is Undertaker's going to happen. Because he wants to hear it. Look at that face. He wants to. He knows. He can't deny it. But yeah, Dave, is there anything you want to say before we wrap up?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter, guys, at the Dave Stevens. If you're watching the video, it's right. How do I put my finger? It's right here. That's my. Do it. Follow me. That thing. Also, subscribe. If you made it this long in the video, why aren't you subscribed yet? Like us. Hit the bell for notifications. Pop us up in the algorithm. I'm done chilling.
Exactly.
Also, Darragh just dropped a new album, and it's awesome. I listened to it last night. You should really check it out. Yeah.
I'll leave a comment to that below. Horrendous. The Altus. It's on Bandcamp, Spotify, all that good stuff. Would appreciate it. And yeah, guys, subscribe, leave a like, let us know what you thought of the show. And of course, we have a lot more coming here on Nerd to Know Media. And if it is the Phoenix FM, guys, we'll be back next week, same time as always. Bye, guys.